I thought it was going to be one of those long lectures and you'll fall asleep, but I was intrigued the whole time. Like, it just touched me, all the stories and everything.
No, I actually expected it to be, like, really boring and...
Well, when I first came here, I'm like, guest speakers, it's probably going to be, all bunk and everything. But
it was much more, I don't know, to our levels.
I thought it'd be really boring, but...
I thought it was really good. It changed my way of thinking.
I expected some lady to kind of just talk to us about how sex is bad and gross and dirty and everything like that. But
they were really honest. I didn't expect people to be that open with people they'd never met in their life. And I guess the honesty made you believe it more.
Honestly, I thought it was going to be boring and not too much action.
So I thought I knew it all, but it turns out that there's always so much more you can learn. It was awesome.
I don't know. I thought it would be kind of boring and just the same old type of talk where they just rattle on you about it, but...
Well, I came here thinking that if it sucked, I was leaving in 15 minutes. And I'm going to leave here just being totally amazed at these people.
I don't know, it's just a lot of my friends that I know, it hit all of us, basically.
And I just want to thank them for doing such a good talk, because it touched me so much, and I can't even express how much my life is going to turn around after this.
Welcome, everybody, to our talk this morning. Our speakers this morning, Jason Everett and Cristalia Padilla. They come to you from San Diego, California, and I would like you to welcome our guest speakers this morning, Jason and Cristalia. Jason, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. To get started, I need a guy volunteer from the audience. I need a big guy. Big. Okay, you're pretty big. Okay, come on down. Yeah, that'll work. Come on down. Give him a hand. Come on up here. There you go. Now, what's your name? Luke. Good to meet you, Luke. Everybody say hi, Luke. Hi, Luke. Now, Luke, do you know what the talk is on today?
It's on chastity.
I'd say it's a sex talk today. So since this is a sex talk, we've got to cover certain issues like how far it's too far to go with a girl on a date, and stuff like that. So what Luke and I are going to do is he and I are actually going to show you guys how far is too far to go on a date, okay? Now, and in order to do this, I'm going to be the guy, Luke is going to be the girl, okay? Now, Luke's not a very pretty girl, but that's okay. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. But we can change that. So we'll get Luke prettied up a little bit. So why don't you throw this on? Yeah, there you go. That's the front. It's a little nappy. You'll be pretty. There you go. That's frightening. Now I've actually never dated anyone named Luke before, so we're gonna give you a name change, and your name is gonna be Shanae, okay? So now Shanae and I, we decided to go for a date. So we go for a date at the Grand Canyon, like right here, and I started thinking to myself, well, how far do you think I can get my beloved Shanae to the edge of the Grand Canyon without actually throwing him off the Grand Canyon? Him, her, it, whatever. But there's only one way we can find out how far you can get to that edge, so I've got to pick you up into my arms, okay? All right, so hold on to this. Hold on to me. Now hold on tight. Hold on to me. Hold on to Mike. Now, how far can we get to the edge? Can we go further?
That's far enough.
Okay. All right. Take a seat. Give him a hand. Good job, Luke. Thank you, bud. Good man. Now, what's the point of that whole deal? The point of that is basically this, that none of us guys would take a girl who we love to a dangerous place and say, well, how close can I get to killing her? Usually we don't ask, but when I was in high school, we'd always ask in our relationship, well, how far can you go? I mean, should we do this together? Should we do that together? And in my high school, they'd give us the sex talk, but every time they gave us a sex talk, all it was about was like guilt or fear. It'd be like, they'd get up there and they'd be like, sex is bad, sex is dirty, poo-poo, poo-poo. Or they'd be like, you know, you're gonna die, sex is gonna kill you, you know. And they'd try to scare the pants off you, or pants back onto you if that be the case. But it was all about fear. All they tried to do is scare us. They'd sit you down and they'd talk to you about gonorrhea, but they never sat us down and said, now here's the difference between love and lust. Here's how you know when you really love a girl, and here's how you know when you're getting used. They never made that stuff clear to us. So I remember I was in high school, I hooked up with this one girl, and we were doing all sorts of stuff, and she stops me. And she's like, Jason, you're not gonna leave me like the other guys, are you? And I was like, no. And she's like, oh, you're so sweet. And I was like, okay, all right, anyway, and whatever. And we did different things, then we came up to that line, and I had to ask myself, okay, you know, should I lose my virginity to this girl? And I thought, well, do I love her? And I thought, well, I've known her for 3 days. And I'm like, what is love? And I could hear in the back of my heart this voice that just said, Jason, this gift is not for her. That gift is for your bride. Please wait for her. And we cooled things down. We went our separate ways. I hooked up with another girl, came right up to that line, and then the same voice, Jason, this gift is not for her. That gift is for my bride. Please wait for her. And we cooled things off, and so to this day, I'm still a virgin, and I'm as happy as can be. And most people think that by the time you get in your 20s, like I'm gonna die of virginity or something. You know, I'm gonna start having like virginity conniption fits or something. You know, like, you know, abstinence is very good. You know, I'm sorry, I get twitches from virginity, you know. But you should really stay virgin. You know, I'll start foaming at the mouth from virginity, and you know, I'll explode and die here. You know, Luke will be like, whoa, you know. What happened to the sex guy? And you're like, oh, you didn't hear? He was a virgin. That'll kill you. Forget about it. The virginity's not lethal. I was at the airport the other day, and I saw this magazine. I had to pick it up here. It's called Complete Woman Magazine. All right, just a splendid periodical. Oh, subscriber. Okay, and so this guy's in here. They're talking about sex. And this guy says, quote, he said, sex is extremely important to me. When I'm in a relationship, it's essential. In fact, a year ago, I felt compelled to break up with a woman I really loved because we didn't have sex enough. The lack of sex nearly killed me. So apparently he's rushed to the hospital for lack of sex or something. But this is what we're basically told, that if you're not having sex, something's wrong with you. Maybe you're dropped on your head as a baby or something. But then they say, but if you have had sex, it's too late for you anyway. We hear this constantly. And I know some of you are virgins, and I know some of you are not virgins. And frankly, I don't care what happened last weekend, last month, last year. I mean, it's in the past, and I mean, I care, but what's happened has happened. For those of you who are virgins, I say good for you, because people who get married as virgins have a divorce rate that's 60 to 70% lower than those who won't wait for marriage. Now, some of you are thinking, well, Jason, look, I'm not a virgin anymore. Or Jason, I had my virginity taken from me. Does that mean I'm gonna have a messed up marriage? If you're like me, you're so sick of the whole divorce thing. I was just over to high school in Washington. After the talk, a junior comes up to me, and he goes, Jay, I know what you mean about divorce. He said, Jason, my dad is on his 9th marriage. High school junior had seen his dad get 8 divorces. Now in LA, I live in San Diego. Up the coast in LA, there are jewelry stores in LA where you can rent wedding rings. You don't have to buy them anymore, because I know you're just going to dump your wife. You might as well save some money in the whole exchange. I found that out because I had to go shopping recently, because Cristalia and I got engaged a couple months back, which is a pretty cool deal, so thank you very much. So, but, you know, we're also sick of the whole divorce thing. So it starts to make a bit of sense. But what about everything that comes before sex? Can you do this on a date? Can you do that? Easiest way to figure it out is this. We're at this high school in Chicago. At the end of the talk, we did a Q&A. Guy raised his hand, and he goes, okay, Jason. He says, your talk was fun. He said, but can we get specific? I said, well, sure. And he goes, well, I want to know exactly how far I can go with my girlfriend. I said, well, that's a good question. What do you want to do with her? And he was like, uh-oh. I said, yeah, okay. I said, well, we're not in 3rd grade. We can be specific, mature. What do you want to do? And he's like, cool. He's like, can we do this and this and this and this and this? And he goes through this list of sexual favors. And I said, well, okay, we'll slow down. Pick one. And he's like, okay. He goes, I got it. He goes, oral sex. Can we do that on a date? And I said, well, I'm going to have you answer your own question. And he's like, oh, good. And I said, well, do you want to get married one day? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to get married one day. I said, that's cool. So I said, so if you're going to get married one day, I said, that means that your future wife, your future bride, she's out there somewhere right now, isn't she? And for the first time in his 17-year life, he thought about his future wife. And he said, yeah, she's out there, cool, cool. And I said, but let's say she doesn't live here in Chicago. Let's say she lives where I live in San Diego. School's just getting out right now, so she's coming home from class with her boyfriend, who's a guy that you are never going to meet. And he's got his arm around your future bride. And he's saying, baby girl, I love you so much. I'm always gonna be here for you. Your eyes are so beautiful. And she's like, oh, you're so sweet. And he walks her home and he sits her down on his couch and he's like, hey, baby girl, you feeling fine? Because you looking fine, you know. She's like, stop, stop, stop. And I said to the guy, I was like, dude, I go, you know what's going on that couch, don't you? And he was like, yeah. And I go, that guy? I said, that guy, he's emotionally manipulating your future bride into giving him oral sex, trying to make her think that if she gives him that, he'll like her more when he's just using her more. I go, does that bug you? And the guy was like, ooh, gross. No, I don't care. And I was like, really? Does it bug you at all? He looked at the floor and he's like, no, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. And I go, what if it was going on right now as we speak? That guy doing that with the woman who will kiss your children goodnight. Does it bother you? The guy was like, the guy next to him in class was like, oh, I'd be kicked off. And the guy's like, what? And I said, see, it's pretty easy. If you don't want some guy going there with your future wife, it's a good place to draw the line as well. And this is not a condemnation of any of us. It's a calling to all of us of a better and a deeper kind of love. And I'm not going to stand up here in front of you guys and say, you men in the audience, you guys have to be like me. Because that's a joke, it's a lie. If you're a guy and I'm a guy, we're identical. Look in your heart, same thing as mine. There's this desire to lust after girls, but then there's this desire to properly love a girl at the same time, and there is a tension. But I want you girls to realize the guys you're sitting next to, we've all been lied to about manhood. We're supposed to learn it from our dads, but a lot of us guys haven't seen our dads since we were 3. Some of us see our dads every day of the week, but we hardly even know the guy. No matter what our relationship is with him, we've been lied to at some point in the locker room that, dude, if you want to be a man today, dude, you're going to get some from the girls. Because if you get some with ladies, dude, you're the man. But think about it. Get some from a girl. Getting some sounds like a couple of, like, 7th graders, and they sneak into a convenience store and they shoplift, like, Jolly Rancher candies, you know, and they're like, you know, and then they like run into the parking lot, they're like, you know, they run funny because they're all disproportionate because of puberty. They're like, you know, their feet are too big and their knuckles drag. And then, you know, they get into the parking lot, and then they hide behind a dumpster, and they pull the candy out, and they're like, I got a red one and a grape one. Whoop, a grape one. Did you get some? Did you get some? And you notice the same mentality. Dude, did you get some with that chick? Dude, you sexually conquered that girl? Because if you emptied of her innocence, you robbed her purity. Dude, you're the man because you emptied the girl. And we know that this is totally missing the point of manhood. I don't get my manhood by emptying a girl. I get my manhood by denying myself for love of a girl. But how is a guy supposed to sacrifice himself for a girl? Well, to be honest, the reason, honestly, why I always confused love with lust in high school is because the influence in my life back then of the pornography. And the thing is that when the teenage girls find out that teenage guys struggle with the pornography, it's not that the girls are all mad at us. They just feel sorry for us that we can't relate to women in a more interesting way. Because as a guy, the pornography as a guy is the perfect way for a guy to shoot his future marriage in the head. Because it trains me that girls, they're things to be used for my kicks. She's got to be constantly sexually available, physically flawless, and when you get done bored lusting after, you go to the next fantasy, and it's no big deal at all because you can judge the value of a woman by how much lust she generates in me. And we would laugh it off. And I'm sure there's some guys in the audience, and in their heads right now, they're thinking, dude, whatever, I got some porn on the internet, I got some Maxim magazines, it's not a problem, I'm not getting anyone pregnant. And while he laughingly tries to think it's not a problem, almost desperately try to convince himself, what happens to a young guy is he gets emasculated. Emasculation means that when a young man is robbed of the ability to be masculine. And pornography flips that backwards, so we men learn to sacrifice and empty the girls for the sake of ourselves, and we miss the whole point of manhood. And in high school, we would totally laugh it off. We're like, dude, who cares? I'm not getting anyone pregnant. It's all good. I'm not killing it. I'm not hurting anyone. We'd have no clue what we were looking at. You know, Pamela Anderson, the big supermodel for, you know, out in Los Angeles, you know when she first posed for Playboy? The limo drove her to the pornographic studios. They did all her makeup up. She disrobed. Then she started crying. She finally pulled herself together. They redid the makeup around her eyes, and they took the nude photos. that when you're looking at porn, you're not looking at just some naked body, you're looking at the corpse of a woman's heart. But we would laugh it off, saying, dude, I'm not hurting anyone. We don't realize how much we're hurting ourselves. You know, Maxim magazine, it's a new smutty magazine they have for guys. You know, Maxim magazine has paid computer companies up to $20,000 a pop to generate fake cover models. I'm not saying she's airbrushed. Her legs are fake. Her face is fake. Her breast is fake. The whole woman is completely computer generated. So we as guys are trained to expect our wives to live up to this impossibly perfect fantasy. And where does this leave our brides one day? I had a friend in college who had all the porn, and he basically assumed, dude, who cares? I'll throw the porn away when I get married. I'm getting married in a few months. Then you can have sex whenever you want. It's all good. And I went to his wedding, beautiful wedding, and the guy was divorced in 3 months. All that he did was transfer the fantasies of lust from the porn onto his bride, and the marriage is done as soon as it began. So if you think you're going to get married as a guy and you have the porn, ask yourself one question. Ask yourself, dude, is my bride's body, is it worth waiting to see? Or is she frankly not even worth waiting to see? Because if I can trash the porn tonight, I'm training myself in faithfulness before I ever even meet that girl. You look at the pornography, it takes like 20 seconds to look at it, then it takes like 20 years to forget what you saw. And you as a guy could imagine if your future wife is at home from school right now. She's on the computer. She gets an email to invite her to visit some pornographic website of guys. I would imagine you would pray that she would have the strength just to delete it. Imagine you're carrying your wife into the honeymoon suite for your wedding night, and she's got her arms locked around your neck. And she says, honey, I'm so excited about tonight. And you're like, me too, me too, me too, me too. Walking her in there, and she says, honey, to get ready for you tonight. And you're like, She says, honey, to get ready for you tonight. She says, I've been looking at thousands of pages of naked men on the internet. You'd be like, yeah, babe, maybe wait all life, but don't you sort of have to wait with your eyes? And that's what it comes down to. If I can't say no to sex, what's my yes even worth? Having come with me from San Diego is my fiancée, Cristalia, so please give her a warm welcome. Come on up, hon.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, now, I'm coming from a completely different angle than Jason here. When I was about a sophomore in high school, I had my first serious relationship. And after a while of dating, we thought we were in love and everything was great. And slowly, we started to get very physical. And slowly, the pressure started to set into the relationship. And he said, well, girl, if you really love me, if you truly love me, you'd prove it to me. You'd show me just how much you love me. So I needed advice. So I went to my girlfriends and I said, well, he kind of wants to do this with me, and he wants to do that. And they said, well, if you aren't doing this with him, and if you aren't doing that with him, then I mean, well, what's wrong with you? Everybody's doing it. You love him, right? And I thought, well, yeah, I love him. They said, well, then what's the problem? So at the age of 15, I lost my virginity, thinking it was going to cause this huge, great emotional bond between us. We are going to be on cloud 9 and so in love. And in all actuality, it eventually destroyed any love in the relationship, and all respect was just thrown out the window. Because if I couldn't even respect my own body, how was he supposed to respect it? And after a while of dating, it seemed like he didn't want to spend time with me anymore. He was basically spending the time with my body. Now, when a girl is being used, she knows it. She knows it in the depths of her heart. She may deny it, she may ignore it, but she knows it, and I knew it. And after a while, we were constantly fighting. He was cheating on me, and we broke up and went our separate ways. Now, I will never forget the day when he walked away from me for the very last time. And as he walked away from me, all I could think about was that guy's taking something with him that never belonged to him in the first place. But I can't get it back, right? What's the point? It's already gone. So there I was in the cafeteria talking with my girlfriends. And I came to this conclusion, okay, if a guy can date me for about 6 months without sleeping with me, then he must love me. Then I'll sleep with him. And I think now 6 months? 6 months is the price that I put on my body? If he gives me just a little bit of that time and just a little bit of that attention, that's the definition of love. And I carried this mentality all through high school. He was the first guy that I slept with, but he wasn't the last, because it starts a vicious cycle. And after a while, I was pretty deep into it. Now, I'm not standing up here pointing my finger at you guys, saying, you guys, you're the problem. No. I happen to believe that you guys will be as much of a gentleman as we ladies require. Now, I wasn't acting like a lady back then, nor dressing like a lady back then. Therefore, they didn't feel the need to rise up and act like a gentleman around me. And what seems to happen sometimes is that girls will give guys sex for the sake of getting the love from them. And guys will give girls the love for the sake of getting the sex from the girls. And it can go both ways. Now, with this lifestyle, I got into the partying, I got into the drinking, I got into the clubbing. You name it, I was into it. And granted, at the time, yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was very attractive, and I know what that's like. But I also know what it's like to wake up the next day when that party's over, when those friends are gone, and when I was there by myself. And I remember waking up thinking, I can't believe I did that last night. I hope I don't have to see his face in the hallway at school on Monday. What if he tells everybody what we did last night? What if I'm pregnant? What am I going to tell my mom? What if I have a disease now? What am I going to do? All of these things constantly going through my head. And the night before, my friends would always say to me, oh, it's all fun and games. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. But I can promise you and stand up here today and say, the next morning, the fun and games was over. And I woke up hating myself, and I woke up with nothing but disgust and regret. And I knew deep in my heart it wasn't worth it. There was a girl that came up to me after one of our talks, and she said, you know, during the talk I was thinking, all the hooking up with guys, all the going to parties, doing this and that. She goes, I realized I was just a prostitute who wasn't getting paid. And it hit her. It hit her hard. Now, after a while of living this lifestyle, my mother had an idea what was going on in my life. Most parents have an idea what's going on in your lives. As much as I thought I was fooling my mother, I was really fooling myself. And she came up to me one day and she said, Cristalina, there's a talk on relationships this weekend, and you're going to it. I said, a sex talk. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to go listen to some dork talk about sex. Thanks, but no thanks. She said, no, you're going. I don't care if you like it or not. And I thought, fine, okay. I'll go to her little talk, I'll sit in the very back of the room for 15 minutes, and I'm out of there. I have a party to go to, I have friends to see, I don't have time. And in that 15 minutes that I sat there, my life was changed. There was a guy who was very honest, blunt, and real. He talked about all of the girls, all of the sex, all the pornography, all of the partying he had been into, and he just laid it out. And I felt like that guy, he had grabbed my hand out of the audience, and he walked through my life. Like he could see the things I was most ashamed of and hiding, and I thought, well, what's the difference? He's done the same exact things I've done, and I just watched him, and he just had this peace, this joy, and this confidence that he carried about himself that I didn't see that in my friends. I didn't see that in the places I went to, and I definitely didn't see that in the guys I was dating, and I wanted it. But he had one quality above all of them that I wanted more than anything. He wasn't ashamed of himself. I sat in my seat trying to figure out one day that I hadn't been ashamed of myself after I'd started living that lifestyle. I couldn't find one. A single day of just true peace and joy, not worried what I'd done prior that night, prior that weekend, prior that month. Never any peace, always worried. And I realized in that moment I needed to get my standards out of the gutter and raise them as high as I possibly could, and I needed to start respecting my body for once. And I went home that night and I wrote down every single thing that I had done, which was a lot and it was very overwhelming. Then I wrote down everything this guy had said to me, and I put it in an envelope and I hid it in my bedroom. Because I knew that weekend that temptation was going to be there. And I can promise each and every one of you, those temptations will always be there. And sure enough, that weekend, there was that party, there were my friends, there were those guys, and I ran to that letter. And it was a very harsh reminder what was there waiting for me, and I didn't do it again. Instead, I wrote another letter, and every single time I was tempted to go back to that lifestyle, I would read my old letters and write a new one. So now I have this huge stack of letters of all of the no's that I've said in my life. Now, Jason here has waited 27 years for his future bride. In 2 weeks, we're getting married. I can't stand up here and say, on those Friday nights, on those weekends I was out partying with my friends, I held myself back for love of him. that I was respecting my body for love of my future husband, because I wasn't, and that's a lie. And I can stand up here and I can look in your eyes, all of your eyes. But every day for the rest of my natural life, I will look into those eyes. And it tears me up that I allowed someone to rob him of a gift that was meant solely for him and no other. Now, Jason knows everything I've done in my past. He knows it all and he accepts it all. But he loves me for the person that I've become, and that's what matters most. But when I turned my life around, a lot of my friends, they didn't get it. They thought it was some big joke. They just constantly made fun of me. They're like, well, what are you, a prude now? What are you too good for us? What's your problem? They just couldn't get it. And they were just constantly making fun of me. And I went home one day and I told someone what was going on. And the best advice they could give me was, oh, don't worry about it. Just ignore it. You're doing the right thing. Well, I tell you today, if anyone makes fun of you for living out a lifestyle of chastity, of purity, of respecting your body, and you get made fun of for that, you remember it. You remember every single word they say to you. Go home, make a book of it, write it all down. Because when you stand in front of your bride or in front of your husband on your wedding day, you tell me, where is the laughter? Where is the mockery? Who is going to be making fun of you then? Nobody. There will be complete silence in that place on that day. And any of those people that made fun of you would pay $1 million to be in your shoes. And when you stand up there, you will say, I will honor you and I will cherish you all the days of my life. Well, today's a day of my life, and today right now is a day of your lives. So keep that in mind and take it to heart, because your lives are going to be so much more than these 4 walls in this high school, and it's going to go way and far beyond that. For those of you in the audience that are virgins, I have the utmost respect for you, and I think that is just awesome, and don't ever be ashamed of that, but be proud of that, because I know plenty of people who would love to trade places with you, and I am one of them. For those of you in the audience that have made past mistakes, I don't care where you've been, I don't care what you've done, because frankly, I've been there and I've done that, and it is never too late to start over. There was a girl in Philadelphia that came up to me after one of our talks, and it turns out she had slept with 15 guys in the past 3 months. Now, you know the names her school had for her, the label that they called her. That girl, she is a slut, and that's all she's ever going to be. And I asked her, I said, why are you doing this to yourself? She said, oh, it's fun. You go to parties, you hook up, it's fun. And I said, is it really fun? And for once, someone took this poor girl seriously. She said, look, no, it's not fun. She goes, my parents are going through a divorce right now. The minute I walk into my home, there's nothing but hurt and hate. And just for the moment when those guys hold me, it feels like love. Even though I know it's not, at least I feel like somebody wants me. That girl is not a slut. She's not a this. She's not a that. She has a heart identical to yours and to mine. And ultimately, all that we want is love. So if it's too late for her to start over, then it's too late for me to start over. And frankly, it is never too late for anyone to start over. I don't care who you are, where you've been, what you've done. It doesn't matter. All that matters now is where you go from here. Now, later on in the talk, I'll give you a couple means and ways that you can actually live this lifestyle out. Thank you.
Now, as you could probably imagine how grateful I am that she started waiting for me, and she was afraid if she left those guys who were cheating on her, who were physically abusing her, emotionally abusing her, she was afraid if she left them, she'd miss out on love. But the only way we would have missed out on love is if she stayed with these guys who loved sex more than they loved her, just staying in these relationships, blindly hoping it's going to improve. But she had that respect to step out. And when I met this girl, she was free. She wasn't just available. She was free, confident, independent, pure, mature, and it was just wildly attractive. And I think with girls long for love. Everyone wants love. But I think sometimes a girl may want love so much, she can shoot herself in the foot. And it happens different ways. Like one way is like if a girl goes from relationship to relationship to relationship, and never sit still. My brother and I, when we were kids, we'd play this game called lava, right? You take all the cushions off the couch, and you like throw them on the floor, and you have to jump from cushion to cushion. You jump on a cushion, you jump on the cat, you jump on a cushion. Yeah, you still play? Okay. And you know, you can't step between or like you die. And unfortunately, some girls date like that, where they go from boy to boy to boy to boy to boy. By the time the girl gets to college, she has no clue who she is because she's defined her whole identity by the boy she's been clinging to for emotional security. Maybe she confuses their physical affection with love. Maybe she's looking for love her dad never gave her. But either way, a girl needs to find her independence as a woman. Then she can receive and give the kind of love that she's been longing for. But the number one way, from a guy's perspective, that girls ruin their chances of getting real intimacy is if a girl thinks that dressing modestly is a joke. I'll admit, I'm a guy. I don't know the pressure you girls are under to look and eat and dress a certain way. I mean, we were watching TV a while back, and a Barbie doll commercial came on. So I was like, dude, I have to get that Barbie. So I went to the store and got the Barbie. Shut up. Yeah, I've got issues. No, this is, I don't remember her name. It was like Botox, collagen, silicone Barbie or something. But, you know, girls are told from the ages of like 3 and up, you know, behold womanhood. You know, you too can be a woman, okay? Just eat 3 croutons a day, all right? You dress like a collection of body parts, and girl, you're going to find love. And so what does every beer commercial, every billboard basically tell women about their bodies? It basically tells girls like, you know, you're too fat. You know, you're too skinny. You know, you're too fat and too skinny. You're a real piece of work. Just constantly, girls are told your body is trash. Hate your body. 5 minutes later, they tell you worship your body. And during that confusion and a girl's sincere desire to find love and be found beautiful, she may look at Cosmo and 17 magazine and thinks, well, that's a cute outfit. Maybe if I dress like that, I'll meet a nice guy, and maybe we'll find love. Well, it sounds like it makes sense, but what happens is this. If we guys are very visual when it comes to sexuality. And if we see a girl walking down the street dressed like this, you know, let's say she's got one of those new short skirts they have that you can mistake for a wide belt, you know what I'm talking about? You know, they're like belly buttons sticking out, and her top's made of like saran wrap or whatever this is, and spaghetti straps. And we see her walking down the street. We think that she's trying to tell us, like, hey, boys, the greatest thing about me is my body. And we'll look at her and we'll be like, I agree, you know, that's a nice body. But if her sexual value is the first thing that draws me to a woman, I might think that that's the best thing she has to offer. Forget her friends and her dreams and her family. I want to get to know the body. And a guy might say or do whatever necessary to get access to her body, and if she gives him access thinking, oh, maybe he'll like me more, usually what happens is the guy loses respect because he gets bored. He moves on, and she's left there thinking, well, maybe if I'd been skinnier, he would have liked me more. Maybe if I'd done more with him sexually, he would have stayed longer. He might not have stayed longer, but he would have used her longer, but her heart's made for better kind of love than that. And guys get used too. We all know the pressures go both ways. But with modesty, I'm not saying like girls, you know, I want you to look as ugly as physically possible. You know, I don't want you girls like show up at your prom, like with this, you know, this huge dress on, and your boyfriend sees you, he's like, modesty, you know, wow, you know, girl, you're looking good there in your shapeless plaid ankle-length jumper, you know, hey, you know, that's a nice potato sack, you know, stay home. I mean, modesty does not mean a girl tries to look ugly. It doesn't dampen down your allure. Modesty means a girl takes the beauty of womanhood and uses it to teach men about her dignity. Because I tell you, I never knew how to treat a girl till I dated one in college who dressed modestly, and it was captivating. Because you could take her seriously as a woman because she wasn't trying to constantly make boys gawk at her body so she'd feel secure. And she had a good figure. She could have dressed like, hey, boys, check it out. But the way she dressed said like, hey, boys, frankly, I'm worth waiting to see. And under that humility was something radiant you could not get bored with because that girl had that deeper reverence for herself. By the way a girl dresses, by the way a girl dances, you can tell if she wants you to treat her like a gentleman or not. And as Cristalia said, a guy will be as much of a gentleman as a woman requires. And I'll grant you girls, you have the power to turn a guy's head, but you also have the power to turn a guy's heart. All the belly button shirts that are out there, I beg you as a guy not to wear the belly button shirts because a guy's belly button is very different than a girl's belly button, okay? Like a guy's belly button, for one, it's not that exciting. I mean, there's probably lint coming out, you know? Just being honest, you know, we're in Oakland, and I said that at a high school. I'm like, there's probably lint coming out. I look over, there's a freshman girl over here, and she's like, I'm like, you're checking for lint, aren't you? And she's like, ah! You know, she was mortified. It was pretty funny. But But the girl's belly is different because that area is the womb, and it is priceless. It's a treasure. It's a mystery. So you veil what demands the reverence. On our wedding day, she's going to have a veil. Because she's dirty? No, but I'm not going to lift the veil and be like, I promise to, you're dirty. You veil the bride because she's priceless. And all the belly button shirts, girls, if you want a guy to think you're special, that you're intelligent, that you're worth respecting, showing us your belly button won't help, because we guys are so visual. And I'll grant you, girls, it's so hard as a guy to be pure nowadays with our thoughts. We need your help. Guys don't like to ask for help. You ever drive with a guy who's lost? I mean, he'll drive to South America before he finds the convenience store because it's a pride thing. Likewise with purity, but we have to back down. We just say, girls, we need your help on this. It is so hard for us to stay pure. And girls, I know when you go to the stores, it's probably hard to find pure outfits. I know 2 girls in Arizona, I just read this in the newspaper. They show up at the department store to get their prom dress this spring. They show up, and they were just couldn't find anything. So they went home all frustrated, and they wrote a letter to the department store. And they had 1,400 of their friends sign it. All teenage girls signed this petition. And the letter said this, 1,400 girls. It said, look, we are sick of you carrying these dresses that have slits up to our armpits. They said, we are sick of just the low cut, the belly button, the back, everything. They go, why don't you start carrying some dresses that treat us girls with class instead of all this trash? How about leaving something for the imagination, a little mystery, a little modesty? 1,400 girls signed it. They submitted it to the department store, and the manager called back the girls and said, hi, this is Mr. So-and-so from the department store. He said, if you girls are interested, we'd like to hire you as the fashion consultants for teenage design for our department store, so you're in charge of all the fashions that come in. The girls have power in this to shape the way that the whole world looks at women, so tap into that. Now, I mean, I'll put Barbie away for now. Well, sorry, she's okay. She's still smiling. Girls, it's funny lately is we have to do all this traveling, and they've got all this increased airport security, so we have to go through the x-ray machines, right? And in my little laptop case, I have to carry like a Barbie doll. I've got like a blonde wig back here, and you got to go through the x-ray machines, which is really pleasant. And we were going through Chicago. There's this guy sitting there, and we go through the x-ray. I put the bag on it, starts to get sucked through. Here's the guy behind the x-ray. He's like, and he's like, huh? And he pauses it. And his friend's over here doing a little wand x-ray. And he's like, hey, come here. And his friend's like, wait. Comes over. It's like, check it out. And like, tink, tink, tink. His friend's like, I'm like, okay, back to security. And they press play. Comes out. And I'm like, just give me my bag. And I give my Barbie. And I go to grab it. And they're both staring at me. What do you say to them? Do you say, oh, the Barbie, the wig? Yeah, I need that for work. What kind of work do you do, you freak? But they let me on the plane, so that was cool. But girls say, well, Jason, if I can't dress sexy, how am I going to make a guy like me? I mean, can I flirt with boys? And I think it depends what you mean by flirt, because it means different stuff. Like for me, when I was in 2nd grade, if I liked a girl, I'd throw a rock at her. It's just, she's hot, poof, I'm making progress, her welts are going down. But then girls do it different. Like all y'all girls in here flirted like this in the 4th grade. Don't even tell me you didn't. You'd see a cute guy, and you'd be like, oh, he's so cute. And you get with your friends, like, oh, he's so cute, what should we do? And your friend's like, oh, I know. Let's give him a note. Oh, that's good, a note, yes. You rip out a sheet of loose leaf paper, get your crayons, your sparkly markers you girls have. And you're like, oh, do you like my friend Shanae? Yes, no, or maybe. It's like a survey. You give him a crayon. He's got to fill it out. Yeah. Then what happens is you girls got to 7th grade. Got a little more sophisticated with it. You'd see a cute guy in 7th grade, and all you girls would be like, oh, he's so cute. And you get to, oh, he's so cute. What should we do? And your friend's like, oh, I know. Let's give him a note. And you're like, so immature. You're not slow. You're special. And they'd be like, and the other girl would be like, oh, I know. How about when you're leaving class, I'll shove you into him. Oh, that's good. Shove me in him. Yes. Some of you still doing this? That's okay. That's all right. Just one day at a time. That's fine. You're not slow. You're special. But you guys see the girls hitting each other and laughing? The reason why women think this is so funny is because this is what girls talk about when they go to public bathrooms with 30 of them at a time into the bathroom. They have couches in there. They've got like drawing boards. You shove them into this locker, I'll come around the back. Then what happens is a girl gets to high school. Culture basically tells girls, first day of high school, girls, look, you've got something the guys like, better than notes, better than getting shoved into. You've got your body. You can give it to a guy. Guys will like you more. So the girl begins with this mentality, okay, let me get this straight. Hooking up and making out with different guys at the party, that's not a big deal. Then she thinks, well, doing this with a guy, it's not a big deal. Doing that with a guy, it's not a big deal. But so long as I technically stay a virgin, I'm being good. Because those girls at school are so much worse than I am, so I'm still being good, and that's not a big deal. And by the time it's said and done, this girl convinces herself that the priceless gift of her body, it's not a big deal. Something starts to die in the girl. I read about this guy, I think he lived in Texas. This dude was sleeping, and his dog started barking. Comes to the backyard, and the dog is there barking at a bush in the backyard. And the guy's like, that would be a bush. That's brilliant. Shut up. Go to bed. He goes to sleep. Dog starts barking in the bush again. 15 minutes later, guy gets up. He's all mad. Brought a stick with him into the backyard. Says, come here, pooch. And smack. And the guy actually beats the dog into submission to shut it up from barking at the bush. Went back to sleep. It's like 2:45 in the morning. Dog starts freaking out, growling at the bush again. The guy threw a fit, cocked a gun, came into the backyard. This guy actually shot and killed the dog in the backyard and went peacefully to sleep. Then what happened is the robber who was hiding in the bushes got out of the bushes, walked over the body of the dead dog, came inside this guy's house, apparently killed him in his sleep, and robbed everything that he owned. And that dog is our conscience. And I've said to my conscience, dude, shut up. Don't remind me I shouldn't be doing this with this girl. Dude, shut up. Don't remind me I shouldn't be looking at this. Dude, shut up. And then I kill the voice, do it anyway for the sake of excitement, and I think I'm free. I'm not doing what my parents want. I'm free. And then I think, dude, if I'm so free, why am I so empty afterwards all the time? This is freedom. And it can lead to like a death in a girl that says, Jason, you've got cute little stories, but look, Jason, you don't get it. Jason, look, I'm not a virgin. Or Jason, I had my virginity taken from me. Or Jason, something bad happened to me when I was a little girl. And what good guy like you're all talking about, as if I really know any, would want a girl like me that's done all the stuff that I've done. Jason, I am damaged goods. It is too late. Once it is gone, it is gone. I'm basically unlovable. And the girl just thinks it is simply too late. Well, I will tell you the greatest example of womanhood and purity in my life is a friend of mine back home who slept with more men than I can count. And one day she said, I am tired of this. This girl's life has done a 180. She settled down, married to a friend of mine, that raising the most beautiful family, and I totally look up to this girl. She started over. Cristalina started over. I've started over. Now we're getting married in 11 and a half days, not that anyone's counting, but with our wedding coming up, we're setting the foundation for our love together. We're doing different things. Like, number one, there's no way that we're going to live together before we get married. You know, shack up and cohabitate. You know how some couples live together, they like play house for a little while, test drive each other, then they get married? You ever check out what their divorce rate is in marriage for couples who cohabitate then marry? They have a divorce rate of 80%. 8 out of 10 of them get divorced because they don't know what makes love work. They think you can just test drive each other. So we're not going to shack up. Number two, no way are we going to sleep together before our wedding night. If I had sex with Cristalina tonight, I would be lying to her. My body would be saying, I give myself totally to you. I belong completely to you. Everything that I'm giving is yours. But it'd be a lie. I don't belong to her. I'm not her husband. Even if my intentions were good, the embrace would be a lie. A movie came out a while back called Vanilla Sky, and in it, Tom Cruise sleeps with this girl, and after they have sex, she says to him, she says, your body is making promises to me, even if you won't. And the embrace of sex is that promise. I give myself completely to you. And unless I'm married, it's simply not true. And you might be thinking, okay, Jay, look, I get it. Okay, Jason, you shouldn't use a girl. But Jason, what if it's not like that? What if it's not like every time you get together, you're having sex? What if you really love each other and you totally agree that you're ready for this? Why can't you have sex? I'd say step back. What is love? Love means you do what is best for your beloved. And I ask you, is it best for Cristalina to wake up tomorrow morning thinking, am I going to be 2 weeks pregnant on our wedding day? Is my mom going to find out? Am I going to get disease? Am I getting used? Is it best for a girl to put her through these fears? It never is. So why are we abstinent? It's not because we're afraid of pregnancy or disease. It's because of love. It is so simple, because love can wait to give, but lust cannot wait to get. And if you're in a sexually active relationship, you can take the sex out and you can see if there's love there. We did this where we were in Michigan, speaking of this huge public high school, and there's 1,000 freshmen and 1,000 sophomores. The juniors and seniors weren't at the talk. And so after the talk, I'm hanging out with some students in the front, and a senior runs into the auditorium, and he's all mad. And he's like, and he's running through. He's like, dude. And he comes up to the front, and he's like, dude, who told my girlfriend all about secondary purity? And I said, me. He comes up, and he's like, dude, and I go, what's the problem? And he said, dude, it turns out he was a senior and his girlfriend was a freshman. He was one of these older guys who didn't have enough social skills to date a girl his own age, so he runs after the younger ones, you know, but I'm sure that only happens in Michigan. But what's the deal? What's the deal with the older guy, younger girl thing? How come older girls almost never go for younger guys? The reason is this. Girls mature faster than guys do. I'm sure you girls are thinking, wow, thanks for the revelation. But think about it. Look at a 14-year-old girl. 14-year-old girl sitting at home, and she's thinking, I want a relationship where we can just talk about our friends and our family, we can communicate about our feelings, and yep. Okay, good. Look at a 14-year-old guy. 14-year-old guy is sitting at home, and he's like, I can make noises with my armpit. This is cool. I mean, we're just different. So a 14-year-old girl can get bored of the 14-year-old guy. But along comes Mr. High School guy to the junior high girl, Mr. Senior to the sophomore freshman, Mr. College guy to the high school girl. And immediately the girl says, oh my goodness, this is exciting. He's older than me, he's a little more mature, and he likes me. This is exciting. Little does she know that the younger girl is, the more naive she is to have heard the lines that he has to give her. Lines like this, baby girl, I love you so much. I've never felt this way when I was with any girl ever before. And you know I'm a guy in all of my temptations, but I don't want to pressure you to do anything sexually that you're not ready for, because I want it to be for the sake of love. And she thinks, oh, he's so loving. Little does she realize the guy will physically take from her everything she's willing to give him. He's not leading her to purity, he's wearing it down. He might even give her like a promise ring. A promise ring is like a little pacifier. You pop a pacifier in a kid's mouth, he thinks there's the real thing going on. And an older guy might give a girl a promise ring so she thinks any sexual stuff they do together is more special because she's got a little bling bling thing going on. And this does not mean that all promise rings are bad. It doesn't mean that all older guys are bad. But if he's as good as you think he is, how come some girl his own age hasn't snatched him up by now? Older guys know that younger girls are less likely to refuse them because the girls want to win the older guy's approval, but to step back. And so this senior runs into the auditorium. He's all mad. And I said, what's the problem? And he goes, well, he said, I just saw my girlfriend in the hallway and she looked all happy. And I said, where you been the last hour? And she said, oh, enjoying my new purity. So I came in here to see what the heck happened to her. And I said, well, you can sleep with her again. Just marry her one day. And he's like, and I go, well, isn't she worth waiting for? And he goes, no. It is the love test. And only when love is put to the test can its value be seen. So have the courage to apply it.
How can you actually live this lifestyle out? A couple of things. The first and foremost, for those of you that are in a sexually active relationship, to take the sex out and really see what your relationship is based upon. Because if you take the sex out, it will give you the clarity of mind to step back and say, okay, is this love or is this lust? Are they using me? Do they really love me? What's going on? And really put your love in the light and see what it's made of. Because if you take the sex out and you end up fighting and arguing, you end up breaking up, you're probably better off without that person to begin with. But if you guys end up staying together, what peace of mind knowing that that person is in it for you and not what you're giving them. That they love you as a person and not what you're doing with them. That is peace of mind right there. So to have the guts and courage to take it out and see what it's made of. The second thing, right now Jason and I, we're training ourselves in faithfulness. Chastity trains you in that faithfulness. Because one day when we're married, I'm just going to be 9 months pregnant, ready to go, and Jason is going to be at work. And he might have some cute little hot secretary now. Do you think the same temptations won't be there just because he has a ring on his finger? Of course not. They're still going to be there. But the thing is, he's trained himself in faithfulness now, so within marriage, he can be all the more faithful to me. So to train yourselves in faithfulness. And I know a lot of you are dating right now, and realize most of you right now is dating someone else's future spouse. To guard that person, protect that person, as you would want your future spouse guarded and protected in the same exact way. Now, when you date someone, to raise your standards high. And I know a lot of people say raise your standards high. When I say that, never have to lower yourself to date anyone. And I know a lot of people do that. And you know when you do that. But to keep your standards high, because everyone in this room, no matter where you've been, what you've done, you are worth waiting for, and you deserve the best. And if that person doesn't want to wait for you, or they're always pressing you this or that, frankly, they're not worth you, and you deserve better than that. So to set your standards high.
Where do you go from here? I'd say, girls, take off after school, go to a shopping mall, buy a white candle, let your husband light that on your wedding night as a sign of the purity that you've maintained from this day until the day that he lifted your veil. And if you've made some mistakes, it is never too late. We were at this high school. This guy was talking at a high school, and it was hilarious. He calls the guys up. He said, guys, he goes, raise your hands if you guys want to marry a virgin. And all the players and all the jocks were, yeah, I want to marry a virgin, yeah, yeah. So all the guys had their hands up. And he's like, okay. He said, keep your hands up. And everyone's like, yeah, yeah. And he goes, ladies, I want you to look at the guys. And the guy's like, uh-oh. And they said, oh, girls, look at the guys. And next time any of those guys pressures you to do anything sexually, I want you to remind them how important purity is to them. And the guys were like, oh. And he's like, no, keep your hands up, to realize that purity is attractive. And you might be thinking, Jason, look, I'm not a virgin anymore. But ask yourself, am I just a date or am I a soulmate? Am I just a for now girl or am I a forever girl? It's never too late. I know a girl who got abducted in Texas. A guy did disgusting things to her. When he was done with her, he threw her in a latrine in Southern California. Construction worker came, looked in the latrine, and the girl's up to her neck shivering in the human waste. And they looked down there and said, my God, who could do this to a little girl? They lower a guy, a fireman in there to pull her out. She sees him coming down. She was scared to death, started to take the human waste, throwing it at the guy. She said, just don't touch me, just leave me here. She'd been so hurt, she didn't know who to trust, and she wanted to literally live in the sewer. And some of us have been so hurt, maybe through sexual mistakes, that we think it is just too late, just leave me here. But I stick my hands out and I say, girl, it is never too late. You still deserve the real kind of love. So girl, get up. Guys, where do you go from here? Guys, I would say, I did a poll of 1,400 girls at a high school. And I had them vote on how many of them thought if a guy practiced chastity in high school that would be undeniably attractive. 1,400 of the 1,400 girls said, yes, it is undeniably attractive. It's tough. We were at this high school. They're the best high school basketball team in the country. And after the talk, the center of the basketball team comes up to me. He's like 6'10". He walks up to me and he's like, can we talk in the back? And I'm like, yes, sir, yes. And I went back somewhere and I said, what's going on? And he goes, honestly, man, he goes, I've been with so many girls. He goes, I've done so much stuff. And he goes, I knew every time I was killing her, but she wanted it. I wanted it. Half the time you're drunk, so you can just blame it on the beer. But he goes, dude, how do you start over when you've been where I've been? He goes, I want to learn faithfulness before I meet my wife. I don't want to give her all my memories, diseases, baggage. He goes, I want to give her a clean heart. How do you get that when you've been where I've been? And I said, dude, you've already started. You have that will to love her. That's where purity starts, in your heart, not from your body. I said, it's hard, but I said, you ever watch a wrestling match in high school? And if you're wrestling, and if you get the back of your opponent's head, you can direct his body wherever you want it to go. And I said, it's the same with purity. If you can get control of the way you think about girls, you'll change the way you talk about them, you'll change the way you treat them. And he was like, dude, he's like, man, that makes sense, but man, he goes, dude, it's so hard in the passion of the moment just to stop. And I said, dude, you know from sports, your body will do what you tell it to. I said, imagine you're married and with your wife in bed at the most pleasurable, exciting moment of your entire life, and the house caught on fire. What would you say? Would you be like, oh no, it's too powerful. I can't say no to sex. We're gonna die. No, you'd get your Snow White butt out of bed, save the kids, get on the front lawn, because your body will do what you tell it to. So don't wait for the girl to stop. But the greater feeling of responsibility you have for her, the more real love there is. And I will grant you, this lifestyle is hard. We made these little abstinence commitment cards. It's sort of like an ATM card, but you can't get any money out of it, sort of like mine. But you can sign it, you can date it. My friend got one of these in high school, met him in college. He was in high school, said, yeah, I'll save myself my bride, that's cool. Signs it, dates it, put it in his wallet. Got to my college, he met my friend Jenny. They fell in love, they started dating, they got engaged. Walking down the street, and his card falls out of his wallet. He's like, ooh. And she's like, what's that? He's like, nothing, give it to me. And she's like, no. She runs off. And she goes, oh, a purity pledge card. And he's like, yeah. And she goes, I signed one of those in high school too. And he's like, for real? She digs into her purse, pulls out her card. They put them next to each other. They had signed the same type of card on the same year of the same month on the same day years before they ever met. Now, this isn't a coupon for a husband, but it's a good place to start. So we got a bunch of those. One of the last things we want to leave with you guys is we're going to offer your school something called a Pure Love Club. It's chastity. It's not like an abstinence bereavement group. You know, you like get together at lunch and you're like, hey, did you have sex? You know, no. Do you have sex? You know, no. Let's hug. Wah. You know, this is basically, we're raising up an army around the country of people who are spreading this message through their schools. And if you're watching the video, you can go to our website and find the guidelines for the club there. Questions and all the materials and stuff that we gave out are going to be there on that website also. Now, we've been able to explain certain things today, but the one thing I know we can't explain to you honestly is the peace and the joy that come from chastity. It's worth more than all the pleasures of the world. And there's so much peace, and that purity will be your super glue. You will have romance without regret, and you can fall in love for the right reasons. You guys have been an awesome audience. We love you very much. Have a wonderful life. Thank you.
I, Jason,
take you, Cristalia,
take you, Cristalia,
to be my wife.
to be my wife.
I promise to be true to you
I promise to be true to you
in good times
in good times
and in bad,
and in bad,
in sickness
in sickness
and in health.
and in health.
I will love you
I will love you,
and honor you
honor you
all the days of my life.
all the days of my life.
And you repeat after me, Cristalia. I, Cristalia,
I, Cristalina,
take you, Jason,
take you, Jason,
to be my husband.
to be my husband.
I promise to be true to you
I promise to be true to you
in good times
in good times
and in bad,
and in bad,
in sickness
in sickness
and in health.
and in health.
I will love you
I will love you
and honor you
and honor you
all the days of my life.
all the days of my life.
Wind it up! Take your feathers.
We hope you got a lot out of the talk, and we wanted to invite you to check out our website at www.pureloveclub.net. If you have questions about any of the statistics I provided during the talk, the answers are on this